Helping us to further unpack this further is human rights activist as well as KwaZulu-Natal violence monitors Mary De Haas. This is, of course, in relation to developments in the police portfolio committee. They're taking a decision to now have the allegations that were leveled by General Mkhwanazi to be looked at by an ad hoc committee. Mary, it's always a great pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. So talk to us about the Joint Portfolio Committee now adopting that report for the National Assembly to consider Mkhwanazi's allegations, right? What do you anticipate will actually be uncovered during this process of investigation versus, of course, the President's Commission of Inquiry, specifically looking at their scope as well as legal framework as well as capabilities?
Hello, Alicia. Yeah. Look, I actually don't know what to make of it, to be perfectly honest. The Police Portfolio Committee has dragged its heels on serious issues for almost a year. Almost a year ago, I asked them to investigate perjury about Masemola, because if you give evidence to Parliament, you do it under oath, and that was ignored. That request, I'd already asked the previous committee to do it. I'd also asked them and I'd kept them informed about all sorts of things, including the task team. I asked them to, they were one of the groupings I asked to disband it, giving them information. They never actually responded, but the minister did, because it's now transpired that back in last year, the Police National Commissioner, Masemola, was informed by one of the deputies that they just couldn't afford to keep that task team going because of what it was costing them, and he didn't act on it. So I don't know what this is about. Maybe they kind of feel that this is a serious consideration they need to give proper attention to, but I'm actually not too sure what it can achieve, because if they call people to give evidence, it's obviously under oath. I mean, starting with Mkhwanazi, he's the one who made the allegations. But the same evidence will have to be canvassed by the inquiry which has been established. Mm-hmm. And that may just muddy the waters a bit. I'm not sure, as I said, because in both cases, evidence will need to be led under oath. If you talk to Parliament, you do so under oath. Mm. So I don't quite know what it can achieve, unless it thinks it will be a bit of a counterbalance to whatever happens at the Commission. I mean, it's all a mystery to me, actually.
Absolutely, Mary. I was just wondering about how is this, parallel investigation and commission actually going to be able to conduct its duties? Because I suppose what happens in an instance now where the witness has to be called to come and give evidence by the commission, they now have to go back to the ad hoc committee. But I mean, let's continue with this discussion. Looking now at the latest developments, right, since, of course, the allegations were brought by Mkhwanazi and then the subsequent placing on leave of Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who still has access to his other functionalities within Parliament and within his party, the ANC, to looking now at these latest arrests as well as fingering of matters of long-stalling cases such as those that were made yesterday by the political killings task team. One then wonders, what suddenly changed, Mary? Because clearly this is not new information, but why was there no will, seemingly, to act on it, you think?
Look, I honestly don't know. I mean, look, there's a couple of things here. First of all, let me just remind you that back in 2011, I think it was, Thuli Madonsela produced enough evidence to show that the then National Commissioner was engaged in serious corrupt procurement. Right. President Zuma had no option then but to establish an inquiry into the National Commission. Okay, that's actually when Mkhwanazi sprang into the public spotlight above all other ranks to become National Acting Commissioner. Okay, now that inquiry is very similar to the inquiry established now, in that it's headed by a judge. It's of fairly short duration. Right. It hears evidence and it makes findings, and the findings are acted upon. Now, clearly was just suspended, so there was nothing to stop him doing anything he wanted to do in the police. In fact, some police say, well, that's why he put Mkhwanazi there, so that he could kind of, keep in touch with everything that was happening until Mkhwanazi what to do, but that's just an allegation. I mean, these are allegations that come from within the piece. Okay, now the position is now similar because there will be an acting commissioner, proper commissioner as soon as Advocate Kashalia is free to take up the position. So I don't think it's a big deal, quite frankly, because don't forget, whatever happens in Parliament is on public record. So it's not like being in Parliament unless you're part of some committee that has to, I mean, like, for example, the Intelligence Oversight Committee, it's very secretive. But other committees handle, unless there's a specific request, I mean, I hope, for example, I have just sent a dossier on gross sexual harassment, which the Department of Justice hasn't acted on, to the Justice Oversight Committee, and I've marked it confidential because it involves a confidential matter. But most stuff in Parliament is by its very nature on public record. So I don't really see what the big deal is about whatever happens to the suspended minister now. I just, I think it's a bit of art error, a bit of a lot of hot air for very little substance, actually, because there's all sorts of ways, even if you're completely removed from it, of keeping in touch through your colleagues, your comrades, of what's happening. So,
Mary,
what's the difference?
Look, you and I had a conversation the other time, and of course this was actually on the Sunday that these allegations were brought by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. And you were speaking about how you do have some information at your disposal. But as you've just said, there's been quite a lot of this information that you have submitted to the relevant authorities and it hasn't been acted upon. So will you also be taking part in supplying that information to these investigations? Should the time indeed come?
Absolutely, they can have it all. In fact, I've gone further than that and said they must talk to the very people that have suffered at the hands of the task team, except that somebody said, well, be careful. They might just get taken out if people think they're going to talk to the inquiry. But I mean, just to go back, they're on a bit of a PR drive at the moment. And I can tell you this, yesterday, we had this court victory on Friday. Well, let me tell you, they've done what they did with Magaka.
All right, Mary.
They've nailed the hitman and they've covered for the politicians who sent the hitman. So,
all right, Mary. We're going to leave it there. Hopefully we'll see some of your evidence forming part of these investigations as well as commissions. Mary De Haas there is the KwaZulu-Natal violence monitor on the developing story of Mkhwanazi's allegations.